5 teams to watch, Northern League Division 1. Yes, hello everyone and welcome to this season's editions of 5 Teams to Watch. Of course, I did this kind of series last year where I went through various leagues and picked out 5 teams that I think you've got to keep a bit of an eye for, and we're doing that once again. Before we do get cracking with it though, I would just like to state that these are not in any way predictions videos or anything like that. It is just quite simply me picking out 5 teams and why I personally think you've got to keep a bit of an eye out for them. And let's get going then. And the first team I want to talk about in this particular video is a team that we are going to be seeing quite a lot on this channel this season, and it is of course Allotment Town. Saw them in that friendly against Liversidge quite recently, going back there on Saturday for the Pickering game. As I've already touched upon in previous videos, there has been quite a lot of change at Allotment throughout the course of this summer, and it's going to be very interesting to see how all that pans out, in my opinion, because let's have it straight, the last few years since they got promoted just haven't really been good enough, but maybe a bit of a sort of change in direction, attracting quite a few more, I'd say, locally based players. So we'll see how that all pans out and if it does make it any better. But it does go without saying, also the new manager at Allotment was the manager of Richmond last season. He's brought on quite a lot of his squad over, so it goes without saying he's going to be quite a big step up for them coming up from the Wayside League into Northern League Division 1, but it goes without saying Allotment do have to win a lot more games this year, get a lot more points on the board, because I think in any other year the points total last year and the lack of wins would have got them relegated, but I was lucky that obviously Tower struggled so badly, and obviously RCA did even worse than them. But yeah, I do think you've got to sort of keep it out for Allotment this season. Next team I want to talk about is a team that were on the list last year, but I think it has to be said criminally underperformed given the calibre of signings that they made, and it is Reger Athletic. I think there's probably, I'd say, even more pressure on them this year. I think last year it was all very fresh, it was all very exciting, but now with what they've sort of put into their playing squad and whatever, I think that this is really a season where they've got to step up that bit more. I think that first game of last season against Birtley, which we did see on this channel, I think that took everyone by surprise, really, just how badly it actually went. But a chance to maybe kick on a little bit more this year. So yeah, I think the pressure is going to be on them. That goes without saying. They'll know that themselves, but I think as well, I think there is the people at that club to learn from those mistakes as well. You know, they've got a lot of players in their team that have played at high levels and are very, very experienced, so they might have a bit of a better blend this year, but again, it does remain to be seen. But that is going to be something well worth keeping your eye out on. Next up, we're having a chat about a team that are in the Northern League but didn't want to be in the Northern League, and it is Kendall Town, who have been transferred across from the North West Counties League. Yeah, it goes without saying it's been a really frustrating summer for them, and I really can sympathise with them. They wanted to stay in the North West Counties League, but ultimately the FA decided that due to geography and whatever, they had to move across into the Northern League. So I think aside from obviously Carlisle City and their games against Penrith, they've got a lot of travelling to do over the course of the season. Obviously, everyone's got to go to them as well. But it's going to be, I think it is going to be especially interesting to see how many of their existing players they can keep on, and like how many can actually commit to going over towards Teesside, up towards Newcastle, or maybe Northumberland, whatever, on a weeknight. It is going to be a huge commitment for them to make. I mean, you might be arguing that it'll probably take them just as long to get down to Manchester as it would to get across, but it is what it is. But I am excited to have them in the Northern League as a Northern League fan. I think there will be a good addition. I think fans will enjoy the trip over there. It is a nice setup, so I'm interested to see how Kendall get on this year, I've got to say. Next up is a club starting from scratch, and it is Mask United, of course. Last season we're in the Northern Premier League Premier Division, which is where they spent a couple of seasons, but eventually they did have to resign, and now come down into Northern League Division 1, and many disagreed with the decision to put them as high as Division 1. Like, many thought they should have even been in Division 2, or possibly even like the North Riding League, the Wearside League, but it is what it is, and it is a fresh start for them, and it is good to see football being restored in Mask once again. So can they build themselves back up to where they were? It does remain to be seen. Like, will they maybe take it a bit slower this time, just make sure they sort of put the building blocks in place to be maybe a little bit more sustainable this time, because I mean, don't get me wrong, they did achieve a lot previously, obviously getting to the FA Vase semi-final, getting promoted, that FA Cup run and what have you. So yeah, I think there might be an attraction. I think for players to go there, I think like they probably now have to be regarded as one of the biggest clubs in the division, but obviously name tags, whatever, can quite often count for nothing. But yeah, it is going to be interesting to see how they look to bounce back. And last but not least is another club that were having quite a few issues last season, and it is North Shields. Obviously, we saw that statement that they put out just before Christmas, and it may have been a case of they bit off more than they could chew, but obviously now we're into a new season, everything drops back down to zero. So can North Shields maybe like push up towards where you'd maybe expect them to be with regards to the Northern League? Obviously a club that had a very brief stint in the Northern Premier League East Division, but had to come down due to the standard of the grounds. Can they maybe push on and get back into the top half of the Northern League, push on to the playoffs? Who knows? But again, is like another story of how did it bounce back, much like Mask. So yeah, that is why I've put North Shields in this list as well. But that is that for this video, and I'll be back on Thursday night. And speaking of North Shields, that's where we're going, because they are playing against Gateshead in a friendly. So until then, take care, cheers for watching, see you later.